it would be helpful for each of us to go through and start naming all the different ways that partners feel shame. So I can start with a social shame. So when my neighbors find out that this has been happening, or people at work find out that this has been happening, that I feel ashamed, that this has happened in my marriage.
Mhm,
So I'll name that piece.
mhm, mhm,
I see all the time. Esther Perel, talked about this first, and I was this idea of, the Scarlet Letter, Nathaniel Hawthorne's book
mhm,
back in the day was the person who committed adultery or an affair. There's shame about that in society back in the day. I think today I see a lot of shame for partners of staying after infidelity as the new
mhm,
Scarlet Letter,
mhm,
and I've seen that play out where simplistically it's easy to say on the outside, if I were with someone who did X, Y, and Z, I would never stay. And we have our clients will hear this from friends, family members, loved ones. They'll hear all this stuff. And yet at least in my experience, I don't know for you all, but more often than not, when you have an intimate relationship with someone, people don't generally leave right away because we have an attachment, there's intimacy, there's connection, there's kids, there's intertwined lives, there's whatever, all these kinds of things. So I think this simplistic idea that someone's going to leave after infidelity isn't generally what plays out. People tend to stay. And then how do we sit with this idea that, like, we're not supposed to stay after someone treats us this way?
yes.
So theoretically, we're not supposed to, in
Yeah, yeah,
quotes.
yeah. I was thinking with your example, Dan, two parts of shame that they're staying, that external, like my neighbors, are thinking less of me. But I think also for the partners, like I have shame that I'm staying
Mm,
because I always thought I would. I've heard a lot of partners. I told him as we got into this relationship, for example, like if you ever, I'm gonna. And then because of so many factors you beautifully named, they don't. And so then who am I? And then shameful about my own behavior that I'm choosing to stay. So I think that would be the part that I offer into that, Wendy.
Mhm.
Tim?
Yeah, when I think about the shame that we're talking about, and I frame it as on one end of the continuum of shame is embarrassment. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that feeling less than or fear of being judged as less than. And I think that there's an aspect of shame that comes up with partners sometimes around themselves, which is, how could I not have known this was going on? How could I have been how could I have been in this relationship for so long without knowing or that this was happening, or I suspected, but I didn't really push to know that, or maybe even a deep sense of shame of how could I have been attracted to this person when this possibility or this behavior or this dynamic was already there. What does that mean about me? And that sense of somehow I'm less than because I didn't know, I didn't see, or I had that attraction to them in the first place.